So this is our lecture number 2 in autonomic nervous system. Here, basically what we have learned in the previous lecture about the structure and how it is arranged, we will see here how it functions, how the autonomic nervous system, what are the neurotransmitters and what are their effects on various organs and how they will be acting on the organs through which receptors. So receptors and neurotransmitter and their action. This is the topic of this lecture, the part 2 of autonomic nervous system, plus some clinical conditions in where the sympathetic system is activated because of what, and what are the drugs which will be mimicking the action, having similar action of sympathetic activity, or what are the drugs which is having similar actions like parasympathetic activity, or maybe those which are blocking the activity like agonist or antagonist, sympathetic agonist or antagonistic drug, like that. So we will see these points in today's lecture. This diagram tell you about the structure of autonomic nervous system. Where is the sympathetic? Blue color is the, here you can see the key. Sympathetic system is blue in color, light blue and dark blue. So this part, and this part is about sympathetic system. So sympathetic system originating from the thoracolumbar division. So preganglionic fibers are short and the postganglionic fibers are long. At the preganglionic fiber, what are the secretion, and at the postganglionic fiber, what are the neurotransmitter released? So at the postganglionic fiber, neurotransmitter release are norepinephrine or epinephrine. Norepinephrine, usually epinephrine is coming from the adrenal gland. So in the adrenal gland also, which is a part of adrenal medulla, not adrenal whole gland, adrenal medulla. I have to tell you what is mean by adrenal gland first. A gland which is lying above or on the upper pole of the kidney, both kidneys, there is a one gland, we call it as adrenal gland. Adrenal gland, they are the one which is lying above the upper pole of the kidney. The gland is divided into two parts, outer part and inner part. Outer part is called as cortex. Inner part is called as medulla. This medulla is not medulla oblongata. This is medulla is the central part. So central part of the adrenal gland is a part of autonomic nervous system, or you can say sympathetic system. It is a part of autonomic sympathetic system. Why? Because it secretes norepinephrine and epinephrine. Norepinephrine and epinephrine. Here again, the thoracolumbar region, the collateral ganglion, and it is supplying to the muscle or organ or any gland. Whereas red and dark red are parasympathetic division. So upper one, the first, this is parasympathetic nerves. So it starts from the cranial region, then ending near to the organ. So preganglionic fibers are long here. The postganglionic fibers are short. And at both places they are secreting what they are secreting? Acetylcholine. At both places they are secreting acetylcholine. Cholinergic fibers are there. But the action of these acetylcholine will be by different receptor. In the ganglion, it is the nicotinic receptor, and at the level of the organ, it is the muscarinic receptor. Muscarinic receptor. Similarly, at down here at the craniosacral region, sacral outflow, acetylcholine in the preganglionic fiber, and similarly acetylcholine in the postganglionic fiber. Okay, and these are the receptors. So this is the summary of what we have covered in the previous lecture. So preganglionic sympathetic as well as parasympathetic are known as cholinergic. If suppose you draw two fibers here, this is preganglionic and this is postganglionic sympathetic fibers. Similarly, parasympathetic. This is parasympathetic, then this is sympathetic. So here they secrete this one. They secrete what? Acetylcholine. And here they will secrete norepinephrine or epinephrine. Whereas parasympathetic, here they secrete acetylcholine and also here acetylcholine. So at three places you will find acetylcholine, acetylcholine, and acetylcholine. Only at one place you will find norepinephrine. Norepinephrine. Even sympathetic fibers, which is supplying to the sweat gland, they are also secreting acetylcholine. They are also secreting acetylcholine. So those fibers which secrete, those neurons which secrete acetylcholine, we call them as cholinergic fibers. Those fibers which secrete or those neurons which secrete norepinephrine, we call them adrenergic fibers. Adrenergic fibers or neuron. So tissues are innervated by autonomic nervous system have one or more several different types of receptor for postganglionic chemical messenger. They may have, where is my cursor? Okay. So suppose this is a gland which is receiving both sympathetic and parasympathetic supply. Suppose it is receiving sympathetic or parasympathetic. It may have receptor for acetylcholine. Receptor for, this is receptor, not acetylcholine. Receptor for acetylcholine. Or they may have receptor for, let's say, another shape we will draw. This is for norepinephrine. Receptor for norepinephrine. Sorry. Oh, back. This is a receptor for norepinephrine. This is a receptor for acetylcholine. So organs will have both the receptor for acid parasympathetic supply or sympathetic supply. The adrenergic receptors are of two types, alpha and beta. It can be alpha or it can be beta. Similarly, acetylcholine receptors are also of two types. One is muscarinic and second one is nicotinic. Nicotinic. Two types of acetylcholine receptor, cholinergic receptor yani. One is muscarinic and second one is nicotinic. Two types of sympathetic receptors or adrenergic receptor. Either it could be for either it is alpha or it could be beta receptor. So nicotinic receptor are activated by when acetylcholine activates the nicotinic receptor. They are called as cholinergic receptor, but there can be a nicotinic receptor or it can be muscarinic receptor. Why their name is given nicotinic receptor? Because exogenously they can be stimulated by a substance called as nicotine. That's why their name is given as nicotinic receptor. And to block this receptor, what are the different drugs? Either it is blocked by curare, we have seen in the previous lecture, or it could be blocked by hexamethonium, acetylcholine, hexamethonium, acetylcholine. There should be some space here. Whereas muscarinic receptors, they are activated by acetylcholine endogenously, but exogenously it is stimulated by muscarine. That's why the name is given as muscarinic receptor. And these receptors are blocked by a drug called as atropine. So atropine will block muscarinic cholinergic receptor. Properties of cholinergic receptor. What are the properties? Nicotinic receptor binding of acetylcholine will initiate the opening of non-specific cation channels, non-specific cation channels. Whereas muscarinic receptor binding of acetylcholine will initiate through G protein linked receptor pathway. So their action here, basically they are saying that how nicotinic receptor get activated and how muscarinic receptor get activated by two different mechanisms. One is by opening of cation channels, another is by activation of G protein linked receptor pathway. You will learn it when you will see the book, what are G proteins and how they will be activated. Coming to the adrenergic receptor, those receptor which are responsible for action of norepinephrine or epinephrine, they are called as adrenergic receptor. They can be of two types. One is called as alpha, second one is called as beta. Again, in alpha, it is divided into alpha 1 and alpha 2. And in beta also, it is divided into beta 1, beta 1 and beta 2. So these are subclasses of adrenergic receptor, alpha or beta. Then alpha is divided into alpha 1 and alpha 2, beta 1 and beta 2, like that. So alpha receptors are activated basically by, has got greater affinity. They have got more attraction towards norepinephrine. Norepinephrine will be acting or stimulating the alpha 1 or alpha 2 receptor. Beta 2 receptor is stimulated more by epinephrine. More by epinephrine. Here it is norepinephrine. It is, whereas beta 1 receptor has got equal affinity for epinephrine and norepinephrine. Both. It is equally activated by epinephrine or norepinephrine. And also these receptors are linked to G protein. This is out of the scope of this lecture. I should not explain you detail about the G protein. These are the, let's say this is the cell membrane and here is the receptor. Linked to this, there are some chemicals present or compounds are present which are called as G protein. So they are G protein linked receptors. Activation of beta 1 and beta 2 by cyclic AMP. Activation of alpha 1 activates the inositol triphosphate and calcium pathway. And activation of alpha 2 is through again cyclic MP. In general, in short, don't go in detail, but in short, if you want to remember something, there are some exceptions, but it's still, and if you want to remember in general, whenever one, that is alpha 1 or beta 1 is there, most of the time it is excitatory. It is excitatory. If it is acting through 2, that is alpha 2 or beta 2, most of the time it is inhibitory. It is a general rule, not a specific. Maybe there are some exceptions to it. Yes, yes.
Yes, it's written up that beta 2s activate cyclic AMP.
Where?
Here.
Hmm.
Activation of beta 2.
Yes.
Beta 1 and beta 2. And down it's written it's inhibitory. How's that?
Beta 1.
2.
Beta,
Beta
2
2.
receptor exclusively. Okay. Beta 1 and beta 2 activate cyclic AMP. This is a pathway. This is a mechanism by which they are activated.
Yes.
Okay.
Ah,
Then
okay.
this is the example how they are activated. Like there is a receptor inside the membrane or inside the cell. There is some mechanism where they will convert ATP into cyclic AMP and then activation by some other protein. So this is the mechanism here. But here it is saying you that when alpha 1 or beta 1 is is stimulated, the effect is usually excitatory. When alpha 2 or beta 2, any two or here any one. So 1 is excitatory when 2 is most of the time. I'm not saying this is 100%, but it is a thumb rule, general rule that most of the time it is. If it is 2, number 2 is there, you can say, and you are most of the time you will be right. Whenever it is alpha 1 or alpha 2, excitatory. Whenever beta alpha 2 or beta 2 is there, it is inhibitory. Oh, detail now. You may be asking me why so many things are there here, but these are important for you because all other blocks, they will have the same information repeating in different places. Like if you remember, if you go to the cardiovascular block, the autonomic nervous system effect on cardiovascular system. When you go to the respiratory block, the effect of autonomic on the respiratory system. So here we will give you general idea about these actions of autonomic nervous system on various organs by various receptor, by the receptors. So here the cholinergic are acting by nicotinic or muscarinic receptor, nicotinic receptor or muscarinic receptor activated by acetylcholine. This is a cholinergic receptor. So neurotransmitter is acetylcholine, neurotransmitter is acetylcholine. Effectors with receptor type. Nicotinic receptor is in the postganglionic fiber in the cell bodies. Here one neuron is ending, second neuron is starting. So this is the postganglionic neuron. So receptor is lying on the postganglionic neuron, sorry, on the postganglionic neuron. They will be opening the non-specific cation channel. They are excitatory. Similarly, motor end plates in the skeletal muscle also. Here they are opening the cation channels and they are excited. Muscarinic receptors are found in cardiac muscle, smooth muscle, exocrine gland, and it is activated through G protein linked receptor, and it may be excitatory or inhibitory depending upon the effect on the organ. Whereas adrenergic receptors are alpha and beta, 1 and 2, alpha 1, alpha 2, beta 1 and beta 2. And also it depends upon the activation. Alpha 1 is most of the time excitatory. Beta 1 is also excitatory. Alpha 2 is found in GIT, inhibitory. Beta 2 is found in smooth muscle of the arteriole. It is inhibitory, like that. Okay, let us say something important one. Site of release of adrenaline or epinephrine is in the adrenal medulla. 80% is coming from. This is for epinephrine. For norepinephrine is adrenal medulla will secrete only 20%, whereas nerves will secrete maximum amount. Nerves will secrete maximum amount. Action is through alpha and beta receptor. Noradrenaline act mainly on alpha receptor, Adrenaline or epinephrine is on the heart, it is more stronger. Norepinephrine is less stronger. On blood vessel, adrenaline will cause constriction, but it causes vasodilatation in skeletal muscle. All the muscles, it will cause constriction. Only in the skeletal muscle, it will cause vasodilatation. And also in the liver, it will cause vasodilatation, adrenaline. Whereas noradrenaline, vasoconstrictor only. It has potent pressure effect. This is the normal size of the vessel. When norepinephrine will work, it will lead to very small. Okay, sorry. Constriction. On GIT, adrenaline will cause stronger action. Noradrenaline is not so strong or less stronger.
Doctor, can you
Yes,
go to the previous slide once?
this.
Yes. Over
Hmm.
here, the nicotinic, there are 2 points given, acetylcholine from the autonomic preganglionic and acetylcholine from the motor neurons. What do you mean by motor neurons? Like we are talking about preganglionic or postganglionic there?
Which column?
The first column, the neurotransmitter
Yes,
epinephrine.
yes. Yeah. Sorry, here. Motor neuron, the one which is supplying to the muscle, to the skeletal muscle. At the skeletal muscle, you have seen in the neuromuscular junction, acetylcholine is released by motor neuron and it is acting on the skeletal muscle. So this is through through the motor neuron, and here it is through the preganglionic fiber. This is related to actually the effect with through the acetyl receptors, not the autonomic maybe. So it is motor neuron is the not autonomic but somatic neuron. This is somatic.
Okay.
Okay, effects of autonomic nervous system on various organ. What is the effect of sympathetic on the heart and what is the effect of parasympathetic on the heart? Like this. So starting with the heart. Heart is stimulated by a sympathetic nervous system in the form of increased heart rate, increased force of contraction, and this is through beta 1 activity. Beta 1. How many heart we have? How many heart we have? Everyone has got how
One.
many heart? One. So you
One.
remember
Yeah.
the receptors are beta 1, not beta 2. Okay. So when sympathetic stimulation on the heart, it will lead to increase force of contraction and rate of contraction. Heart rate will increase, force also increase. Parasympathetic, if it is stimulated, it will cause opposite effect, decrease heart rate and decrease force of contraction of the atria only. So it is mainly acting on the atrium. Blood vessels, on the blood vessels, sympathetic stimulation will cause vasoconstriction. Initially the size is this. When sympathetic is stimulated, it will cause vasoconstriction. That's why the blood pressure will increase. Whereas parasympathetic will cause dilatation of the vessel only in these organs. Penis and clitoris, there is parasympathetic supply. Here all the places, sympathetic, parasympathetic, both are there. But here in these organs, that is penis and clitoris, only parasympathetic is active. Only parasympathetic is active, which is causing vasodilatation. Lungs. How many lungs we have?
Two.
Two lungs. So which receptor will be there for the sympathetic? Beta 2. Dilatation of the bronchioles in the lungs will lead to increase airway or increase air entering into the lungs, or oxygenation will be possible. So beta 2 receptors are found in the lungs bronchiole, which will cause dilatation of the bronchiole. Here it will cause constriction. Parasympathetic will cause constriction of the bronchiole. What about secretion in the bronchioles? Mucus secretion will be inhibited because of the sympathetic stimulation, whereas parasympathetic will cause increased mucus secretion. Digestive tract. By sympathetic stimulation, there will be decreased movement or of the GIT or decreased motility, as well as constriction or contraction of the sphincter to slow down the effect, slow down or exit of the GI content. Parasympathetic will cause increased motility and relaxation of the sphincter. So forward movement of the GI content will be possible in parasympathetic. And secretion will be digestive secretion will be inhibited in sympathetic system, stimulated in the parasympathetic system. Parasympathetic stimulation rather. Urinary bladder, relaxation by sympathetic system, contraction by the parasympathetic system. In the eye, dilatation of the pupil by sympathetic system and constriction of the pupil by parasympathetic system. So the vision will be adjusted for far vision in sympathetic and adjusted for near vision in the parasympathetic. And so on. It will be, the list is long. What is happening in the In the liver, because of the sympathetic stimulation, glycogenolysis, no effect by parasympathetic. Adipose tissue, lipolysis, no effect by the parasympathetic. Pancreas, inhibition of the pancreatic exocrine secretion by sympathetic because it's a inhibitory, because we have seen in the previous slide. And stimulation of the pancreatic exocrine secretion by the parasympathetic to increase the digestion. Sweat gland, stimulation secretion by most of the sweat gland by the sympathetic system. Whenever you are in a hurry, fight or flight, sweat secretion will increase. Some of the stimulation of the secretion by the some of the sweat gland in the parasympathetic. Salivary gland, stimulation of, in both condition it is stimulated. Salivary gland are stimulated by sympathetic as well as parasympathetic. Both are equal. They are stimulated by both. But the type of secretion will be changed. Thick saliva in sympathetic stimulation, and here it is watery saliva rich in enzyme in parasympathetic stimulation. Adrenal medulla will cause increased secretion of epinephrine and non-epinephrine, no effect of the parasympathetic. Exocrine pancreas will lead to endocrine pancreas is inhibition of insulin secretion, so blood glucose level will be high. Whereas parasympathetic stimulation will be causing insulin secretion will be more and there will be decreased blood glucose level. Genitals. In genital, sympathetic system is responsible for ejaculation of the semen. Ejaculation of the semen and orgasmic contraction will occur due to sympathetic stimulation, whereas erection of the penis is caused by erection of the penis or clitoris is caused by the parasympathetic stimulation. So erection by parasympathetic and ejaculation by the sympathetic. Brain activity. You will become more alert when you are under stress. Increase activity, increase alertness in the sympathetic. No effect on the parasympathetic. Okay. You may be asking me, or you may be wondering how I can remember all these points. So many points are there. There is one simple formula to remember all the effects. Imagine that you are exercising. Exercise means it's a type when there is increased activity of the muscles. And in this such situation, sympathetic system will be more active. Or maybe you are participating in a game, like a football game. You are playing a football game where you have to do lot of running, lot of concentration. So this is a type of sympathetic stimulation. So what are the things you will observe in your body either when you are playing or doing exercise? What are the things in from the heart, from lungs, from eyes, from GIT? What are the things you observe? Can you tell me? During exercise or
Tachycardia during
heart rate
exercise.
increase.
yes, during exercise, what are the things you observe in your body?
Heart
Tachycardia.
rate increase.
Okay, increase heart rate. What about blood pressure?
Construction.
Increase.
Increase blood pressure. What about respiration?
Increase.
Increase.
Respiration is increased. That means bronchodilation will occur. What about GIT? Do you go
Decrease.
for bathroom to pass the stool during exercise or during the match? Suppose you are having a match, football match. Can you go? You
No.
will not feel sensation of the GI movement, right? So GI activity will be decreased. Sorry, GI motility is decreased. Motility is decreased as well as there is a constriction of the sphincter. Sphincter is constricted. Also, what about your eyes, vision? Vision will be narrow, near only, or maybe you can see far during a
See
football
far.
match. Yeah. So there is a
Before.
pupillary dilatation. Pupils will dilate. Okay, you require more energy or less energy during a football match?
More energy.
That means you have
Less.
to have glycolysis, right? Or glycogenolysis. That will give you more glucose. During exercise, you require more energy. That's why the glycogen should be broken down and more glucose should come out, right? Increase glycogenolysis, increase glucose. Glucose is which hormone regulate the glucose? Which hormone
Is it
regulate
insulin?
insulin? Very good. So insulin secretion will increase or decrease?
Increase.
If it is increased, then glucose will go into the cells.
Mhm.
You require
But do
more
we
glucose
want to
level.
store it or do you want to absorb it though?
You want to throw into the circulation. Glucose should be in the circulation. So insulin secretion will
Increase.
decrease.
Oh, okay.
If there is decrease insulin in diabetes, what is happening in diabetes? Diabetes means decrease insulin secretion. That's why blood glucose level is high. In exercise, we need blood glucose to go high so that it will be available for our body, for other for the muscles. So insulin secretion will be less. So all of them are sympathetic effect. You can say these are the effect of sympathetic stimulation on heart. This is on the heart. This is on the lungs, effect of sympathetic stimulation on the lung. This is on GIT. This is on the eye. This is on the metabolism. This is on the endocrine system. All these are the effects of sympathetic stimulation. So please remember, instead of remembering them through these points, please remember that you are exercising.
Doctor,
Exercising means you are stimulating sympathetic system. Okay.
should
Hmm.
should I
Yes.
should I learn if it's alpha or beta?
Hmm?
Should I learn if it's like acting on alpha or acting on beta or
We will come to that. In
oh,
this area, no need. In this diagram, like table for sympathetic and parasympathetic, no need. But there is a specific
alright.
point where we have to remember. So if you remember these changes during exercise, opposite will happen during parasympathetic stimulation. During parasympathetic stimulation, what is happening to the heart rate? Or
Decrease.
okay,
Relax.
instead of parasympathetic, you can say you are chilling at home, just sleeping or relaxed in this condition. Relax or you are sleeping, lying down. So it is same as that of the parasympathetic overstimulation. Okay. What is the point when you are relaxed? Your heart rate will be more or less? Normally, it will not go down.
Less.
Yes. So
Okay.
parasympathetic will cause decreased heart rate, decreased blood pressure. Then respiration, you will be normal. So it's not heavy, decreased respiratory rate. Okay, what about GIT? Your digestion will be during resting is more or during exercise is more?
No more at bottom.
Resting.
Yeah, digestion will be more during rest because the condition we have seen in the previous slide that it is parasympathetic means rest and digest, increase digestion. That means GI motility will be more or less?
More.
More.
More. Yes, GI motility will be more. When you are relaxed or at home, you usually go to the bathroom. When you are under stress, you don't go to the bathroom, right? So this is GI motility, activity or motility will be more. Then during, as there is a more metabolism, the storage function will increase. There will be more glycogenesis, more formation of glycogen storage. Then decreased blood glucose level, decreased blood glucose level, meaning increase insulin secretion. This is how you can remember the effects of sympathetic and parasympathetic stimulation on the body. Okay. In short, if you want to remember some important organ, heart, sympathetic will be excitatory, parasympathetic will be inhibitory. Blood vessels, sympathetic constrict all the organ blood vessels except in the skeletal muscle. In the skeletal muscle, the vasodilatation will be found. In all organs, there is vasoconstriction will be found because during exercise you require more blood supply to the skeletal muscle. Whereas parasympathetic will not have any effect on as such on the blood vessel except two places. One is penis and second one is clitoris, where it will cause dilatation to cause erection of these organs by parasympathetic stimulation. In the bronchioles, that is in the lungs, it will cause sympathetic will cause dilatation, parasympathetic will cause constriction. Pupils will get dilated so that you can see picture clear from the far. Dilatation. Here it is constriction. You can see only the near object. Digestion will be inhibited during sympathetic system, sympathetic stimulation, and it will be enhanced or increased during parasympathetic stimulation. Okay. So is it clear now how the sympathetic will affect the body and how parasympathetic will affect the body?
Yep.
Yes, doctor.
So
Doctor,
in short, yeah, okay.
Doctor, do you want us to learn all the table or just the one that you gave us just now?
Just now what I gave you.
The heart, the blood
Yes, yes,
vessels.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
that's it.
Thank you.
Let us say in short, sympathetic system will be more active. One thing you should be remembering that both sympathetic and parasympathetic is active all the time throughout the day. Sympathetic is also functioning, parasympathetic is also functioning. But in some condition, sympathetic will become overstimulated, extra work. In some condition, parasympathetic will be overstimulated. But in normal condition, both systems are equally functioning, same amount, same unit, same points. You can say both of them are functioning equally. One will be more active during specific conditions, like sympathetic will be more active during emergency or stressful condition. When you want to fight with the lion or a tiger, or you want to move away from the lion or the tiger. As I gave you example in the previous chapter, that when you see any scary animal in front of you, either you will fight with a stick or with some gun or something, or you will try to escape from that area. So that is the situation. We call it as fight or flight reaction. Here, sympathetic system will be working as one unit all throughout the body. You will have more muscle contraction, more forceful heart contraction, GI motility is decreased, something like that. Throughout the system will work. So this is acting as a one unit, and it is a catabolic condition. Catabolism means breakdown. Breakdown, when you are breaking down the molecules into two different or making energy supply for the organs. So catabolic system, not anabolic. And it will be delaying the evacuation of the visceral content. Your GI motility is decreased, your sphincters are constricted, so it is delaying the content to be moved outside. So this is a general effect of sympathetic stimulation. Similarly, parasympathetic stimulation is more dominant or more active during rest or during sleep. And it is localized, not generalized response, localized to a specific organ. It is body building or anabolic action, conserving the body stores. And it increases the secretion of the GIT and increases the motility. That's why it is secretomotor action, secretomotor action. So this is a short description of overstimulation of sympathetic or parasympathetic system. As we have seen that both every organ receives sympathetic supply as well as parasympathetic supply, but there are certain you can say specialization that only one system will receive only one supply. Exception to the this general rule. General rule is every organ will receive sympathetic as well as parasympathetic, but there are some exceptions, like skin will receive only sympathetic supply, sweat gland will receive only sympathetic supply, piloerector muscles of the skin, where during frightening reaction your hairs will increase, so this hairs are become erected. This is through piloerector muscles, only supplied with sympathetic. Blood vessels of all over the body except penis and clitoris receives only sympathetic supply. Here they are receiving sympathetic and parasympathetic supply also. Dilator pupillae muscles also receive only sympathetic. Blood vessel of the skeletal muscle only sympathetic. Adrenal medulla only sympathetic, and capsule of the spleen only sympathetic nervous supply are there. Similar to that, parasympathetic is supplied exceptionally to constrictor pupillae muscle. Constrictor pupillae muscle, where it is found in the eye pupil. If you see the eye, there is a central part which is called as pupil. Central black hole in the eye is pupil. It can be small or it can be big. This is called as constriction. This is called as dilatation, and it is done through muscles which are called as constrictor pupillae and dilator pupillae muscle. So constrictor pupillae muscles are supplied by parasympathetic only. Yes, why we are learning all these physiology? Because we know that after physiology, pharmacology comes. If you want to modify the effect of any of the system, or you want to increase the blood pressure or decrease the blood pressure or increase the GI motility or secretion, you have to give some drugs. These drugs act either similar to the sympathetic or parasympathetic or opposite to the sympathetic or parasympathetic. So we have to remember the normal function, then only we will be able to say what are the alterations we can make. So some drugs are called as agonist. Agonist means they will have same action like the sympathetic or parasympathetic neurotransmitter. Some drugs are called as antagonist. That means they are acting opposite to the normal action of the neurotransmitter. What are these? The examples are agonist means those neurotransmitters which will bind to the receptor and have similar action, like salbutamol. It is a drug. It is nothing but beta-2 agonist. Act same like beta-2 stimulation. Same like beta-2 stimulation. Salbutamol is present in the form of inhalers. It comes as inhalers. So that is required for bronchodilation, used in bronchial asthma. In bronchial asthma, there is constriction of the bronchioles. You want to make it dilated by giving a beta-2 stimulant, beta-2 agonist. This is called as agonistic action. Similarly, antagonistic, those which will bind to the receptor and they will block the action of that drug or act opposite to the effect of that neurotransmitter. So example is atropine. Atropine is a drug which will be blocking the action of acetylcholine on muscarinic receptor. So that's why it will be acting against the parasympathetic system. Used for suppression of salivary secretion. Saliva secretion is decreased by action of atropine. Why it is given? It is given before the surgery when the person is unconscious. So his saliva should not go into the lungs to cause pneumonia. That's why Two, we have to decrease the salivary secretion by giving a drug which is agonistic and which not agonistic, antagonistic to the muscarinic receptor. Similarly, another drug, metoprolol, it blocks the beta 1 receptor activity. That's why it is given for reducing the blood pressure, decreasing the blood pressure. Okay, apart from these nerves, the nerves which are coming out from thoracolumbar region or craniosacral region, the autonomic nervous system is affected by actions of hypothalamus. Hypothalamus plays an important role in integrating the autonomic as well as somatic nerves as well as the endocrine. So all control mechanisms are controlled at a one center which is called as hypothalamus. Sorry. Also at medulla, there are centers which are called as cardiovascular and respiratory center, which will be regulating in response to the autonomic nervous system. There are some autonomic reflexes are there at the level of the spinal cord, such as urination, defecation, and erection of the penis and clitoris. They are regulated at the level of spinal cord. So only at the level of the spinal cord, they will be regulated. This is called as a reflex mechanism. And they are called as autonomic reflex. Like when you go to the bathroom for passing the urine, this is again at the level of the spinal cord, controlled by autonomic reflex. Sorry. So as I told you that not only the nerves which are rising from cranial and sacral region or thoracolumbar region, there are some higher centers which are controlling the autonomic nervous system, in which the hypothalamus is the most important, which will integrate somatic, autonomic, and endocrine mechanisms. Also, at the level of the medulla oblongata, there are swallowing center, respiratory center, vasomotor center, which is controlling in response to the autonomic reflex. This is all about the autonomic nervous system. 1 and 2, both of them we have finished now. If you have any question, please feel free to ask me.
Doctor,
Yes.
where will you post the recording?
I will post the recording first on the YouTube, and the link will be on Moodle. Because on Moodle we cannot have or posted the large files. So I will just upload it on YouTube, and then a link will be shared with you through Moodle, inshallah, very soon. The first and second the previous lectures I already finished downloading and making it on the YouTube, but the link I will post it today, inshallah.
Thank you, doctor.
Welcome.
Have a nice vacation.
Same to you.
And
But
Eid Mubarak, doctor.
in advance, okay.
Yeah.
And please, during the Eid or during the remaining days of the Ramadan, please make dua for everyone, including me, and study. Not only making dua, also you have to do some efforts. So for understanding the medical knowledge, this is for beneficial for the whole community, because you are in a medical field and you will use this knowledge for benefiting everyone, for the human being.